Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen, buckle up. We're back on a fantastic hip hop channel. You got every diss on Eminem's new album fully explained. I'll leave the link to the channel in the description so you guys can check out more. Wow, it's a lot. I told you, when you're listening to Eminem, I mean, you gotta really give your ear. You gotta really pay attention. As a reactor, like I said, it's very, very difficult because you gotta, like I said, for all the subscribers out there, like, shout out to y'all for your patience for Eminem reactions, because I mean, you gotta pause, rewind. You gotta do all that. So here we are. We ain't gonna waste no more time. Let's jump right into it.
Now, with Eminem's 12th studio album, The Death of Slim Shady, as this album has created a storm in the music world that only few other records have been able to match this year. One of the reasons why this has been is because of all of the name drops and disses Eminem throws out on this album, which from newfound haters, longtime rivals, and all the way to people who M has been waiting to unleash his lyrical wrath on for decades. There are few albums in the catalog of Marshall Mathers that can compare to this project in terms of the sheer amount of jabs being thrown right out in other people's faces, and from name drops that are meant to poke fun, not to some of his greatest competition as a rapper, and to the jabs that are so lyrically insane that they may just start the next all-out rap beef. Eminem did not hold back in any regard when it came to delivering his final performance as Slim Shady, but before we can start to look at all of the major callouts on this record, I think it's important to make one thing clear. Now, with all of the verbal attacks on this album, one thing that certain corners of the internet are forgetting at this point is that there is a clear line between people that Eminem is poking lightly and who he actually wants to escalate a full-on conflict with. And as even despite Eminem stating that this record is a concept album and that it needs...
That's like saying who he wants to smoke with, but like on the extreme level. It's crazy, man. Like, you think about when he came out the first time, you heard Eminem rapping. I ain't talking about like the old videos of his battle rapping. I'm talking about like with the Dr. Dre, and to now, it just seemed like we're back at day one. When this dude just be going in on everybody. I'm one of the ones that shocked me the most was like when he said about Christopher Reeves. I was just like, oh Lord, have mercy. Here we go.
Be listened to in its proper context for it to make total sense. This hasn't stopped major personalities in hip-hop media like DJ Academics from taking M's words out of the place they were supposed to be read in and using them to push his own personal agenda, and this happened most prevalently with the bars on the intro track Renaissance where it says, Kendrick's album was cool, but it didn't have any bangers. And while Act tried to pull a quick one on social media and make people think that Eminem is dissing Kendrick Lamar to try to shift the spotlight from all of the negative attention surrounding Drake, when you actually look at this bar for what it is, from M's voice on the track which is delivering this bar in a tone that is mocking another voice, to the lyrics then literally being transcribed in quotations to express that Eminem is not saying this but instead quoting somebody else.
Yeah.
When you look at what this album is actually standing for beyond the sensationalism of social media, it's clear that this name drop and also the bars where he says, Wayne's album or Ye's couldn't tell which one was lamer, Joyner's album was corny, Shady's new stuff is way worse, everything is either too tame and there's too much anger. I didn't like the beat, so I hated might delete later. It's clearly a way of them paying homage to Kendrick, Lil Wayne, Ye, J. Cole, and Joyner Lucas, but with all of the confusion around these lines due to the misinformation that Academics is spreading, I think it's just important to make it clear that none of these name drops were disses, and as he goes on to express later in the track, Eminem is actually defending all of these rappers from the constant criticism that seems to be always getting echoed.
Yeah, so it's like, it was more so like, kind of like, he was saying it sarcastically and just saying it like if he was speaking as another person, like, as the person who said it. But I don't know, man. It just be so much going on with Eminem, man. Like, especially, like I said, when he's in tune with everything that's going on, then he drops an album and it's like, you got to listen. You'll hear everything in the world that's going on. He's gonna address it.
throughout the internet, and now while Eminem shouts out all of these rappers in support of what they do. One of the most interesting things we find out later in the project through a subliminal diss is Eminem's stance on who won the beef between Kendrick Lamar and Drake, because on the track Lucifer, M compares himself to Kendrick as he says that beefing with him is just as unwise of a thing to do as beefing with Lamar, which clearly implies that Eminem sees Kendrick Lamar as one of the only rappers who is on his level. And while this isn't a direct diss to Drake, it's just showing to the world another major player in the hip-hop world who thinks that Drake just got humiliated by Kendrick Lamar. But now moving past this and into some more direct lyrical jabs, another rapper Eminem references on this album twice is Megan Thee Stallion, with both the line on Houdini. If I was to ask Megan Thee Stallion if she would collab with me, would I really have a shot at a feat? And earlier in the album's track list, he brings up her name again, saying, "Cause I can spit a bar so hard, Megan Thee Stallion and Nicki Minaj will SZA," which in of itself is one of the most clever lyrics on the entire album. But with this bar, while it's not inherently a diss, with Megan being in the category of people whose name was brought up more than once on this album and whose controversial issues like her incident with Tory Lanez are being directly referenced, to audiences who are not as familiar with Slim Shady and Megan alike, this can be seen as more than just playfully chaotic banter that's being used to create that crazy Slim Shady chaos. And who knows, with Megan showing that she is not afraid to clap back at massive names in the industry like Nicki Minaj and Drake, it will be interesting to see how she handles being somewhat of a lyrical focal point on this album.
I still don't think that's worth, remember the award show when he sat right next to Christina Aguilera and said the bar, like, wonder who she'll give you know what to first, right next to her? That was like, I think she might have flipped him off too. Boy, the Slim Shady don't care. It's hard to tame that dude. You can't.
And speaking of people who are lyrical focal points, the most referenced person on this entire project is not a rapper or a longtime foe of Eminem, but it's Caitlyn Jenner, who over and over again, Eminem references when he is trying to depict the true nature of who Slim Shady really is, and while referencing her about almost 10 times on this project is definitely excessive. When we look at the concept of this album and what the message Eminem is trying to depict as he revisits the Slim Shady character, I think it's safe to say that Eminem doesn't actually have any sort of real issues with Caitlyn Jenner, and that this was all to just play into the concept of the album and the fact that Slim Shady can no longer exist in the year 2024. Now, with that being said, Caitlyn's name being brought up so much on this project, it will be interesting to see how the media handles Eminem doing this going forward, and if she will even feel a way about it as a whole. Now, another person that is being dissed within a similar way on this project is Lizzo, who Eminem targets by coming at her appearance with the bars on the track Road Rage ain't never really truly over till Lizzo sings, which in a string of major name drops that have made for headlines that span much further than the general rap world. This is another major moment on this record where Slim Shady calls out Lizzo and then uses the rest of this track to go on a whole rant about the lifestyle that she seems to promote. And while there are layers of sarcasm in this, the line of what is satire and what's serious is kind of blurred here, because Eminem's vocals are not edited in the Slim Shady voice in the same manner that some of the other disses on the record are. And beyond just this, with the way this album's already being pulled out of context, and as a result the way its lyrics are being judged without understanding the larger story regardless. While this doesn't appear to be a lyric that Eminem is saying with any sort of true anger or animosity, only time will tell if Lizzo recognizes this as a fair thing to say in an artistic statement, or if she will feel disrespected by M's harsh words. And with the way she has responded to other satirical jokes about her, I would expect this to go pretty bad. Now, a long-running target of Slim Shady's that is brought back here all the way to the point where he has an entire song dedicated to him in Brand New Dance is Christopher Reeves. And while it's very confusing on the surface why Eminem is dissing the late actor who was best known for portraying Superman, we do get more context on why this happened, which is actually explained later on the album's climax as Eminem and Slim Shady go head-to-head on Guilty Conscience 2. Where we find out that Brand New Dance was a song recorded in 2004 for Eminem's project Encore, and the track never came out because Reeves passed around the time it would have been released. But even back then, there was never any actual recorded beef between Eminem and Christopher Reeves, and throughout many of his albums, songs, and freestyles during the golden age of his career, Eminem would just use his name time after time to stir up that classic Slim Shady controversy. And when you dig a little deeper into M's life, it's also pretty easy to find out that Eminem was a big fan of superheroes, and Superman included, so in a strange, very Slim Shady-like way, I think on some level we can assume that by mentioning Christopher Reeves on this album, It's his own one-of-a-kind way of saluting somebody that he respects, no matter how disrespectful it may seem without the proper context. Now, looking at more rappers that Eminem subliminally dissed on this album, while there are a lot of celebrity name drops throughout the album, some that are direct disses and some that are just using the celebrities' likenesses to allude to something Eminem is trying to portray, there were also some hidden lyrical signals targeted to other rappers that were secret ways of Eminem challenging some of his greatest peers, and at the top of this list is none other than Jay-Z, who on the track Toby gets called out by Eminem through some pretty clever wordplay that references where Jay-Z is from, which also happens to be the exact name of his most iconic song. And then Eminem questions how Jay-Z could be higher up on an all-time list than him if Em has absolutely watched Jay before on a track together, which is of course referring to Jay-Z's track off the Blueprint Renegade, in which Eminem delivered one of the greatest feature verses ever.
Yes.
Now, I have another video breaking down this song and how Eminem also dissed Melly Mel.
Big facts, man. Hey, that y'all don't know, my nickname is Melly Mel as well. I mean, you know, my name is Jamel. Family calls me Mel or Melly Mel. He did it first, though. But hey, it's spelled different. Renegade is one of the most, like, that he went off on there. I'm like, man, is this Jay-Z song or Eminem's? Oh, that verse was so cold. He went off.
In which Eminem delivered one of the greatest feature verses ever. Now, I have another video breaking down this song and how Eminem also dissed Melly Mel for being a hater, and how he subliminally threw shots at Drake and J. Cole through the track's branding, tagline, and cover art. So definitely watch that after this if you want to see how layered that song really is in of itself. But continuing to look at some of the other rappers that got some lyrical attention from Eminem. Another name who is mentioned multiple times after being defended as an artist on the intro track is Kanye West, and through two different lines that talk about Kanye going off the deep end in their own way. While some have assumed that Eminem is trying to shade Ye or call him out for some of the things that he has done over the past few years, I think when you look at these references in context of the story on the album, Eminem is using Ye's name to just add to the controversial nature of the record, and to just further bring to life the Slim Shady character, with a person whose name in of itself inflicts so much emotion, which is something that Eminem has done in the past on a song like No Love all the way back in 2010 on Recovery. And if anything, the person who got the worst part of these Ye lines was Kim Kardashian. As Eminem said, they want to see me going off the deep end like Ye, rather see me do like Kim Kardashian, they say, and find a way to really get rid of all this Ray J, which really makes her the target and punchline of this joke, if anything, in one of the most clever and
Oh, man, dude. Get rid of all this rage, eh? Oh, man. Oh, my goodness. This guy. That's why we talking about, man, when you do these reactions, bro, it's like you gotta give your full attention. Boy, because, like, the comments be so crazy. If you miss something, people like, yo, you missed the bar. Oh, man.
hilarious ways possible. Now, while all the disses we have looked at so far in the grand scheme of Eminem's lyrics and intentions are meant to be taken as more of a joke or even a sign of mutual respect in some instances, as opposed to threats that are trying to escalate something much bigger. And a good portion of the remaining celebrity name drops when it comes to people who have been involved in recent controversies are only here to make fun of public figures who have made some very horrible choices. The next disses we are going to be looking at are ones that are meant to create serious ripples, not just through the rap world, but through the people who he seriously has a problem with. And in this regard, one of the biggest targets here is MGK, who gets dissed on the track Bad One, where in a moment on the album where Eminem is rapping through his own conscience and not Slim Shady's, he goes on to say, "But I gotta keep going Tyson on Kelly. I bodied him twice and already. That little mother back throwing subs like a food fight at the deli." And while earlier on the album on the track Guilty Conscience 2, Eminem is so sick of Slim Shady that he says he is willing to end the beef with some of the biggest names in his career who he has never stopped going back and forth with, which included MGK. As this album got closer to releasing, I'm gonna guess that he went back on his words as MGK went on Twitter and said that Eminem did not win their beef, and this must have made him once again address Kelly and the fact that he is still delusional about what happened between them, and as MGK instigated this into happening by continuing to talk about the beef online recently, as we have seen. It almost seems like he wants to have another direct matchup with them, so who knows? Maybe we will get another round of back and forths between these two, which will definitely be a sight to see, and right alongside MGK. Another one of Eminem's longtime rivals that he is still continuing to diss here in a way to just make them look more pathetic than ever is Ja Rule, which after M used the Slim Shady persona to make this running theme on the album that he hates little people, he then twists this joke and puts it on a path that nobody could have expected, as he says that he was referring to Ja Rule the whole time, which is a great way to just humiliate a rapper who seems to always be getting more and more disrespected as time goes on. And now beyond these two longtime rivals who at this point have been left in a place where they only have the chance to make themselves look like even more of a fool for messing with Eminem, the only non-musical figure that Eminem comes at with genuine lyrical fury here is Candace Owens, which after Owens has bashed Eminem for quite some time for making fun of his album Revival to then running around and making think pieces about his sexuality. M gave her the response that she was pretty much asking for, and with a series of lyrics that melt down her entire brand and what she built her career off of. Eminem puts her on the hot seat in classic Slim Shady fashion, and while he isn't really saying anything that hasn't already been put out there before this, between the lyrical fire M comes at her with to also the twisted Slim Shady humor, which makes this dynamic between them all the more sick. Eminem hits Candace Owens with some of the most lyrical fire he has targeted anyone with in a while, and if it wasn't for one other person, this may have ended up as the most memorable diss on the entire record. But beyond all of these,
here we go.
There is one beef on this project that Eminem is ripping the band-aid off after years of having to sugarcoat his words and thoughts, and with this target, it's clear that this person is being lyrically attacked more than anyone else on this project to not create controversy or to spark some sort of sensationalist back and forth. But it's because Eminem genuinely despises this person and is more than happy to finally see their downfall, and I am of course talking about Diddy, who over and over again on this LP doesn't just get dissed by Eminem, but even gets exposed, as we learn one of the most important figures in the rap world's true thoughts on Diddy's relation to the late Tupac and Biggie, as on the track Fuel, which has one of the best features of the entire year from none other than J.I.D.
I think it's the best song. It's my favorite off the album. I mean, just the beat, the wordplay is just, that did he bar blew my mind. Yeah, comment below.
Shout out to him. Eminem delivers one of his best performances on the entire LP, as through his insanely high energy and lyrical tenacity, he exposes Diddy through some of the most creative but also damaging wordplay that you can possibly write about somebody on a piece of paper, as from sounding out the word rapper and missing a letter so then he can say, he didn't just spell out the word rapper and leave out a P, did he? To then claiming that he believes Diddy is the one who is directly the reason why Pac and Biggie are no longer here.
Yes.
Eminem rips all the bandages off and serves as the first major figure in hip-hop to speak out against him on this high of a magnitude. And beyond these bars, he also puts an emphasis on clowning him throughout the rest of the LP, as from bringing up the disturbing footage that leaked of Diddy earlier this year, to the situation with him and the destruction of Kid Cudi's car, all with the lyrical wit that will leave you thinking how somebody even thought to say this. Through every corner and act of this album, Eminem is bringing up Diddy to not just add to the insane nature of Slim Shady's mind and to add more controversy and buzz to this record, but he's also doing this to truly unveil his feelings about the man who he has clearly not liked for a very long time, as in years past, as Eminem pretty much was forced to apologize to Diddy and say that he was joking when accusing him of the same horrible things on a track like his MGK diss track Killshot. With everything that's happened recently, he now could say these things without any repercussions, and in a year where it feels like in many ways, hip-hop is leaning back into its pure roots more than it has been in a very long time, it's super powerful to hear Eminem diss one of the most crooked and evil men in all of the genre, and on one of the biggest albums the music world will receive all year. Just publicly humiliate him, not just for the things we already know, but for the things many people have been thinking for a very long time.
Right.
And with that said, there you have it. There is every major diss on Eminem's new album explained, and let me know, what did you think about all the lyrical jabs, shoutouts, and disses Eminem threw out on the record?
Look, man, like I said, that Fuel song, that Diddy, oh man, what a great video, because he definitely went back to, like, you know, how people are talking about the nostalgia. I like people who attack issues that aren't like anybody speaking up about Diddy got my support. And it's crazy how they were, making him apologize for stuff, and then now you look at it. See, that's what I'm talking about, man. I know Eminem's a part of this industry. I know that. But I feel like a lot of times he be fighting with the dark, you know, with the dark side of everything. Um, I told you, when you like come from nothing, because you know how Eminem's upbringing was. When you come from nothing, and then people discover you, and I feel like all of these alter egos is a way of him to try to cope with everything that goes on. Um, but just seeing him go at Diddy, just I enjoyed that. Oh, I enjoyed it. But hey, appreciate you guys coming over. Hope you enjoyed. If so, go ahead, like, share, comment, and subscribe. I was gonna say surprise. All right, peace out.